everywhere, from gas to groceries and concerts to cruises. So don't just earn cash back on some things, earn it on everything. Everyone is eligible to apply. Visit PenFed.org. To receive any advertised product, you must become a member of PenFed, insured by NCUA.
PenFed's got great rates for everyone.
When is a pencil more than a pencil? When it takes me from art class
to gallery walls worldwide. Staples is your back-to-school destination. Find all the supplies and inspiration you need. Come in store this week for great deals under $1. Now, Staples one-subject notebooks are just 25 cents each, and 2 pocket paper folders are only 15 cents each. Staples, back to school and beyond. In-store only. Offer ends 8/10/19. Limit 5 on paper folders, limit 30 on notebooks, while supplies last.
WSBN Washington, Washington's new home for sports. ESPN 630, the sports capital.
Sonny hurls a honey to Bobby Mitchell, and it's touchdown, Washington.
This is ESPN 630 special coverage, Saluting Sonny.
Hi, this is Sonny Jurgensen. I've decided to hang up my headphones and my clipboard. It's been a great 55 years in Washington. I want to thank our Redskin fans for being so generous to me and our teams. We owe it all to you. I've had so many wonderful memories of the thousands of teammates I've played with and talked about during my years in radio and television in Washington, D.C. The relationships with coaches and executives over the 50 years, like Bill McPeak, Otto Graham, Edward Bennett Williams, Vince Lombardi, Jack Kent Cook, Joe Gibbs, Bobby Beathard, Bruce Allen, and Dan Snyder have been special. My special broadcast partners such as Sam Huff and Frank Herzog, and later with Larry Michael, Chris Cooley, and Doc Walk on radio, and the great TV talents such as Glenn Brenner and George Michael. We lived through the glory years together. The NFC East Championships and 5 Super Bowls, all great memories. And I would be remiss if I failed to mention WMAL, the Redskins' flagship station, and my good friend Andy Ockershausen, who was responsible for bringing together the original broadcast team of Sonny, Sam, and Frank. After 62 years in professional football, I still have my health and wonderful family, with a special thanks to my beautiful wife, Margot, for letting me work the weekends for all those years. I'll always be a fan of professional football and appreciative of all it has done for me, my family, and our city. I leave you with these words. Hail to the Redskins.
That was Sonny Jurgensen a little more than 12 hours ago here on ESPN 630 as he is announcing he is leaving radio and leaving the NFL after 62 years. Andy Pollin on ESPN 630, the sports capital, and the Frank part of Sonny, Sam, and Frank, the great Frank Herzog, joins us now. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning, Andy.
How are you these days?
Good. I'm fine. Everything's going well. I just feel a little melancholy this morning. Wow, up here in sunny, that's the end of a rather historic era in Washington.
Yeah, no question. I mean, what you guys did, and I mentioned this a number of times throughout the morning, you're the great soundtrack of the greatest era in the history of professional sports in Washington. The 4 Super Bowls in 9 years in the 80s and the 90s. Your voices always ring in our heads when we think of that.
It's a great feeling. It's a humbling feeling. And it's remarkable what a good time it was. You know, you always hear players talk about when their careers end, the things they miss, they look back and miss the most. And it's not the games or the outcomes. It's the players that they played with. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing, I think, in my case, and it probably will be in Sonny's. As he said, you look back on everything that you accomplished and you said, wow, it was great being with those guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we felt that too. You could feel that through the radio, how much you guys enjoyed being with one another.
Well, and plus Sonny added so much. There was some real concern, I think, when they added him to the booth, mm-hmm. when they put a third man in the booth. I think among some people they thought, well, is it too crowded? Will it work? And what they didn't realize was that Sonny and I had worked together at Channel 9 for about 5 years. We had done basketball games together. We'd done college football. So we knew each other, and we'd worked together, and we were friends. Well, Sonny and Sam, my goodness, they were the best of friends.
Right.
Sonny used to pick Sam up on their way to home games. He would drive in, and he'd pick Sam up. They were roommates under Vince Lombardi in training camp. So it was a natural fit. He stepped right in, and 10 minutes later, it was like we'd been together for years.
Well, something I found out this morning, too, when talking to Andy Ockershausen, who put Sonny in the booth, as you know, with Sam and you, is that they had done television work together, Sonny and Sam, at Channel 7, that they had already done broadcasting work together.
I'm wondering who Sonny hasn't worked with. But the thing is, you think back, he's got a 55 years connection to the Washington Redskins. I don't think there's anyone else who can ever say that, can claim that. That's the longest ever.
Well,
I thought I was long in tooth at 32 years. Holy cow, 55.
Well, I got to think this, too, that the 62 years of continuous work in the NFL as a player and a broadcaster has to be up there. Even George Halas, who started the league and died in the 80s, I don't know if he reached 60 years, maybe close to it. That's remarkable.
And somebody who was universally liked.
Yes.
I mean, this is a guy, there could have been a lot of egos in the National Football League, not only players, but owners and executives as well. And this guy was universally admired and liked. I think because one of the things, Andy, was he was the model of discretion. People could tell him things, and it never went any further.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many times he was approached to write a book, and he always refused.
That's true.
Oh my God, what a book that would be!
Yeah,
you can't imagine the history that man has seen.
I hadn't even thought of that, but yes, of all the people who've written books, including me, Sonny has not written one. That's incredible. We're talking to Frank Herzog, the great Frank Herzog, who until John Walton, Frank, did the Caps Stanley Cup. You did all the championships in Washington, D.C. in the second half of the 20th century. The Bullets championship in 78 and the 3 Redskins Super Bowls. You couldn't win one without you.
It's hard to believe. It really is. And you look back on it and you think, what a magical time it was. And I think the players, even the players who played during the Gibbs era, once they've been away and they've been retired a few years, all of a sudden it's special to them too.
Yeah.
They begin to realize what happened. When you're doing it, you don't have time. You're doing the job. You're trying to do the best job you can and to convey what's going on the football field. You try to have a good broadcast. You try to get all the commercials in. You don't even think about that stuff.
Yeah.
And then when it's all over after a while, you go, holy cow. Look at the places we went and the things we did.
Yeah. And look, nowadays, everybody pines for just a playoff appearance. In those days, when you walked out of the Super Bowl after losing to the Raiders or after losing the NFC Championship to the Giants at the Meadowlands, it was devastation. The season was a disaster, right?
Oh, yeah. I remember, the most vivid one I remember was when Buddy's Philadelphia Eagles team beat the Redskins. And he made some caustic remark about the Redskins, about how they just kicked their butts. And Joe Gibbs was so mad, and the whole Redskins team was so mad. Sonny and Sam were mad until they could meet up again in the playoffs, and the Redskins could turn the tables on them.
Yeah, and they did. That was the wild card win that they won. You're talking about the Body Bag Bowl, right? The one on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That was some.
And the other thing, Andy, I'll throw out at you. Is I was reading about Sonny today and how he's number 2 in all the passing records now. All of his records have been eclipsed. He's number 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, yeah, but remember when he played. Remembered what the rules were then.
Right.
Remember how few games they played.
Yep.
I mean, the guy, he was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, no, he as a player, I think of the great passers in the history of the league, Marino, Sonny, the list is short. They're, the guys who could throw the ball. He was an absolute magician with the ball. We've talked about it. I mean, even in the broadcasting days with you, he would go down on the sidelines before the game and throw passes and throw them behind his back. I mean, he was a magician with the football.
There was a kid, I can't remember his name. He was a tight end from Howard University. And he would, before games and stuff and before practices, he would get Sonny and they'd throw passes back and forth, play catch. And all of a sudden, Sonny would throw him a curveball. He would throw a curveball with a football. Yeah. And the kid would grab the ball and fall down laughing. He could not believe it. I don't know if you have time for this.
I got plenty of time. It's all yours, baby. Go ahead.
I saw Sonny cut a football player.
What?
Redskins training camp, Carlisle, Pennsylvania. George Allen's team. They had drafted in, I don't know, the 12th or last round. They drafted some quarterback out of Yale or Harvard or one Ivy League school. He was just cannon fodder. Mm-hmm. And he's up there. And the Redskins are warming up at practice. And I was standing there. I saw this. I'm standing in the end zone, and they're running the Redskins drill where you got one quarterback at one end of the field and one at the other, and they're throwing passes to players running down the field. And Sonny is throwing these gorgeous 20, 25-yard spirals to players, hitting them in full stride. And pretty soon the kid steps up to Sonny and says something. Sonny says something back, and the kid looks down at the ground, shakes his head, walks off the field, and goes into the training room. And Tim Timorario, the player rep, the guy who hired and fired players, mm-hmm. He had this puzzled look on his face. He went in, came back out, he was laughing. And I said, what's up? And he said, the kid just quit. I said, why? And he said, the kid was standing behind Sonny, and he said, Mr. Jurgensen, I didn't realize you were left-handed. And Sonny said, I'm not. He was throwing left-handed passes. And the kid told Timorario, he said, I realized right then, I've got no business in this game.
Yeah.
I got to get out of here.
Yeah. Look, and even with the injuries, the longevity, he played till he was 40. You remember a guy by the name of Gary Beeben, don't you? He was a Heisman Trophy winner. And they drafted him in 1968, which I think is like 7 years before Sonny's career ended. For his job was to take Sonny's job. He never came close to it.
I think Vince Lombardi said, see that? Who's that kid over there? I think it was number 6, and they said that's Gary Beeben, the first-round draft pick. And Lombardi said, "Don't ever let him throw a football again."
He's a Heisman Trophy winner too.
Heisman Trophy winner.
It's amazing. Let's wrap it up with how this whole broadcasting thing came together. You had taken over in 1978 for Dan Lovett and worked 3 years with Sam?
No, I think. Boy, I'm trying to remember. Because I did, in 78, I did the Bullets Championship.
Right.
And then I was off that winter, I think 79.
79?
Parties last year.
Okay.
That's when Sam and I did the broadcast together.
Okay.
And it was a good broadcast, yeah. And then Sonny came in with Joe Gibbs.
Right.
Came onto the broadcast.
Yeah, two Hall of Famers at the same time. Pretty good.
Unreal.
Yeah, not too bad. And then you guys, had that great run. And I talked to Andy Ockershausen about this. But what it was like to go to all those Super Bowls, where it's not just a road trip. It's a week, and it's a week of incredible celebration, right? I mean, what was it like to go on such a regular basis and have that kind of like Mardi Gras for an entire week?
Well, it was so much work. God, it was just, I got to the point where I hated it.
Really?
I mean, because you just killed yourself. I mean, the radio thing was the easy part. Mm-hmm. I was working television as well.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And so, you're working all this time, and you're just killing yourself to get stories, and you're in a strange city, and you got to travel all over, and you got to interview players who don't want to talk and have been told not to talk. Mm. So that's, it was really a lot of work. Yeah. But there were some moments that were pretty cool.
Well, after what we've been through here for the last quarter of a century, Super Bowl fatigue would be a welcome thing, I think.
That's why I said at the top, I feel melancholy.
Yeah.
I just feel like this is it.
Yep.
This is the end.
It is. Yeah.
It's done. Wrap it up.
Yep.
What are they going to do?
Yeah.
And how are they ever going to match that again?
I don't think they will. I mean, they've got a good team now with Larry and Cooley and Doc, but that was great days. Sonny, Sam, and Frank will be remembered forever in this town. And before you go, I've gotten a number of Twitter requests about that. Can you give us a touchdown Washington Redskins one more time?
No.
Oh, you retired that, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just that was born out of the excitement of the moment.
Got it.
And I think that's where it belongs.
I'll
with all due respect, I'm sorry, but I just don't do that anymore.
I respect that very much, and we'll live with the memories and the great recordings of it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Good to talk to you.
All right, we'll see you.
All right, that's Frank Herzog, the great voice of the Washington Redskins, as part of Sonny, Sam, and Frank. I want to pass along a text that I got from a friend of mine, Rich Ackerman, who covered the Redskins for the radio station that I was working for back in the mid-'90s, right? Second or third year. We had the Redskin rights for 3 years, and he was the beat reporter there. And Rich texted me this. He said he got to know Sonny well enough that he asked him if Sonny would throw him a pass. And he said Sonny used to like to go out on the field after practice and throw the ball around. And he said, would you throw me a pass? And Sonny said, sure, go out. And he said, what do you want me to run? Rich said. And Sonny said, don't worry, I'll hit you. The first pass he threw was just a lob. I got it, and I yelled, give me the good stuff. The next pass I go out, he hits me perfectly in stride over the shoulder, and the ball lands in my hands spinning. I was so in awe, it was magical. For one moment, I felt like Charlie Taylor. It was something I have never forgotten. And those of us who saw Sonny play and have listened to Sonny and watched Sonny over the years as he retires now will never forget what we heard and what we saw from Sonny. By the way, you can get me on Twitter at Andy Pollin 1. Bill Bride has tweeted out a picture of what Len Shapiro referred to in the passing of Sonny and Billy when Sonny tore his Achilles in 1972. It's a very famous Dick Darcy photo, and you see Sonny limping off the field and Billy looking at Sonny's torn Achilles, and that was a real seminal moment in Redskins history, and you can look that up on Twitter as well. Coming up, we're going to talk to Chris Cooley, now in the booth with the Redskins, plus Steve Buckhantz, longtime television reporter and a great play-by-play man himself. Also, Larry Michael will join us before the hour is out, the current voice of the Washington Redskins. Andy Pollin paying tribute to Sonny Jurgensen right here on ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.
Now, from ESPN 630, your DC Sports Center.
All right, you use preseason football to find out what you need to do. Looks like they need stuff to do. 30-10 opening loss in Cleveland last night for the Redskins. They had problems on the offensive line. Case Keenum did throw a 46-yard touchdown pass to Robert Davis. There was some excellent defensive play by a couple of rookies, Jimmy Moreland and Cole Holcomb, but the rookie that everybody had their eyes on, Dwayne Haskins, he had 2 interceptions, including a pick 6. He'll get another shot when the Redskins play at FedEx Field on Thursday against Cincinnati. You've been hearing our tribute to Sonny Jurgensen throughout the morning. We'll continue that, plus you can hear it podcasted at ESPN630.com later today. WNBA, Mystics beat Indiana 91-78, and the Nats are opening up a weekend series against the Mets in New York tonight. Mets among several teams within 2.5 of the Nats for the wild card lead. DC area weather, 89 for a high. Andy Pollin, ESPN 630.
The Carol Maloney Show.
Clinton Portis. Let's talk about the quarterback. Who do you think is going to be starting week 1?
With this schedule, if you put Haskins in the fire and he goes 1-5, then this city and this fan base gets after him and the negativity starts. How does he recover?
Right.
Let guys go out and have some fire, desire. Wait till the preseason is over. You don't have to rush to name a starter.
Carol Maloney, weekday mornings at 10 on ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.
At the Big Screen Store, it's game on. Just in time for football. 2 75-inch Samsung 4K TVs, just $19.99. Whoa, that's 2 for $19.99. The Big Screen Store. At the Big Screen Store, our prices beat Best Buy and online, guaranteed. Plus, we double the Samsung warranty, and you get delivery and installation installed by pros on your schedule. Not even Amazon can do that. The Big Screen Store. The Big Screen Store is your motion furniture headquarters with innovative furniture featuring power headrests, full power recline, USB ports, lighting and accessories, power lumbar support, plus an incredible selection. The Big Screen Store. At the Big Screen Store, it's game on. Just in time for football. 2 75-inch Samsung 4K TVs, just $19.99. Whoa, that's 2 for $19.99. The Big Screen Store.
If you want to remodel your kitchen or bathrooms, make it easy for yourself and call 800-NEW-REMODEL. Remodel USA has worked with thousands of local homeowners. They're a trusted family business with a stress-free process. Designed to installation, they do it all. You'll love what Remodel USA can do. And right now there's a special offer. Get 60% off the installation of your new kitchen or bathroom plus $2,500 off just for being an ESPN listener. Call now for an estimate and Remodel USA will come for a consult. Call 800-NEW-REMODEL or 800newremodel.com today.
Let's be social. Yeah! Follow ESPN 630 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for ESPN 630 DC and hit that follow button. It's where we post the latest sports news, updates about station programming and events, plus how to win ESPN 630 prizes. ESPN 630 DC on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Follow us, and we may just follow you back. That's ESPN 630 DC.
Tacos, travel, haircuts, hotels. With the PenFed Power Cash Rewards Visa Signature Card, you earn cash back on everything, everywhere, from gas to groceries and concerts to cruises. So don't just earn cash back on some things, earn it on everything. Everyone is eligible to apply. Visit PenFed.org. To receive any advertised product, you must become a member of PenFed, insured by NCUA.
PenFed's got great rates for everyone.
Sonny Jurgensen, one of the foremost bombardiers in the NFL.
This is ESPN 630 special coverage. Saluting Sonny.
But when you're playing a team that released you or a team that ended up letting you go for some reason or another, you want to go back and prove to them they made a mistake. And in the first game back, I threw 5 touchdown passes against them, and we beat them. And that felt good, you know? It's like, hey, okay, you didn't like me? How you like me now?
Jurgie steps to the firing line. Sonny hurls a honey to Bobby Mitchell, and it's touchdown, Washington. Jurgie is making the Eagles eat crow as he passes the Redskins to a fast 14-point advantage. Adolph Christian's Sonny Jurgensen throws his 5th touchdown pass of the game as he lays it on the Eagles with a scoring shot to Taylor. Jurgensen wins the battle of the quarterbacks, and Washington wins the war 35-20.
Revenge is so sweet. Sonny going to the Redskins and going back to Philadelphia to beat the Eagles. Andy Pollin paying tribute to Sonny, who announced last night on the broadcast that he is retiring after 38 years in the booth. The last 7 spent with Chris Cooley, who was also part of a later generation of Redskin Eagle revenge, as Donovan McNabb went back to Philadelphia when Cooley was a player and beat them there, and he joins us this morning. Thanks for getting up. I know this was a short night after the Cleveland game last night.
Oh, no problem, man.
Good to talk to you.
It's good to talk to you, Andy.
You grew up in Wyoming, and you played football at Utah. You're drafted by the Redskins in 2004. Did you have any sense of Sonny and what he meant to this organization when you came here?
No. Well, of course you have a sense of who Sonny Jurgensen is, but it's also out of my generation a little bit. At the time, I did grow up a big-time football fan. So I know who Sonny is, and I love the game of football. But to know what Sonny meant to this city, no chance. And to really understand what he meant to the game, no. He was such a special player, Andy, and such an incredible guy. It's hard to really understand that.
When did you get to know him? Did you know him well as a player?
I did get a chance to know him and Sam very well as a player. I got on the wrong bus going to one of the games out of the hotel, and the media I ride bus 4 now, and Sonny and Sam always rode bus 4, and anybody that's not playing rides bus 4. Mm-hmm. And I sat down. Sonny sat in the very front seat every time. I got on, I looked around, and no players were on the bus, and Sonny said, "It's okay, sit by me." Sam sat in the other front seat across the aisle, and they just started telling me football stories, and I started riding bus 4 every week.
Yeah.
And it was so cool to hear so many of Sonny's stories from when he played and Sam's, and so anyone ever wanted to know why Sonny always wanted to throw me the ball, it was because we were friends.
Yeah, and you've followed in their footsteps in that you stayed in town. I know you had opportunities to go other places, do national work, but you've transitioned just like they have into doing local radio and television. Did you talk to them about that when you were playing?
I didn't really talk to them about that while I was playing. I did go back and listen to a lot of what they had done, because when you're playing, you don't. I never listened to the broadcast. You'd hear some of the cut-ups, but I never really heard the real broadcast. Those guys were incredible. I went back and listened to a couple of their broadcasts with Frank and Larry. Mm-hmm. They were so good, and probably, I don't know, I'd assume like me, I don't know if that's what they expected that they would be doing when their career ended.
Yeah.
You just fall into some of those things, and, Andy, I'll never forget sitting down with Sonny Jurgensen in a booth and thinking, what am I going to say here? It's Sonny Jurgensen.
Yeah. No, quite. We're talking to Chris Cooley, current broadcaster with the Washington Redskins and a former player, and has made that transition as smoothly as Sonny has, going right from the field to the booth. When you do your Redskin games now without him, and I know you did some last year because he didn't do road games, does it feel a little bit empty in there?
Yeah, it feels a lot empty, and it's not just the booth; it's the trip. Not having Sonny sit in the front seat.
Yeah,
it's Andy. One of the greatest things about my job is I've still participated in traveling with the team, and so the game weekends have obviously I'm not playing, but the routine has been a lot the same, and so I've always sat next to Sonny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and so to not have Sonny on the trip, and then all the dinners that we went out to with Larry and Doc and Sonny and all the time. Yeah, I'm going to miss that a lot.
Yeah, I think his presence will be missed in the booth, but you've really taken the baton, and I know that you have learned from him and all of his experience. What's the number one thing you learned about broadcasting and talking to Sonny?
Be honest. Sonny will say anything, and he'll ask any player any question, and he's honest, and I love that about him. If it's not a good play, it's not a good play. If it's not, and he's himself, and you guys, you know that.
Yeah.
And if they want to have fun, they have fun. They don't. I don't know. I don't think he ever took himself too seriously as a broadcaster. He had a good time, and he was very honest about what was going on in the game, and so that's what I've tried to do. Is I've tried to say this is exactly what it is, because it's a hometown broadcast.
Yeah,
so
sure.
You could be friendly on everything. I could find something positive in every play.
Look, he did television, Chris, for, 30 years, and every Friday he would pick the Redskin game. I don't think he ever picked them to lose, even in years they win 3 or 4 games. So,
Well, I'm finding that, at least in picking, you don't really need to pick the Redskins to lose as a broadcaster. You don't have a lot of gain there.
Yeah, exactly.
If they do win, you look silly.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. There's no win in that. The thing that others have talked about, we just had Frank Herzog on about Sonny's preparation. That he would be at the park. He would talk to players. You do that as a matter of routine with your television work and your radio work, but you're able to boil it down for those of us who didn't play the game, who don't have that understanding, and that's not as easy as it would seem to be, is it?
It just takes a lot of work, but I would assume that Sonny never looked at it like work, because I don't look at it like work. I love doing what I'm doing. And if I weren't doing the game broadcasts, or if I weren't doing a radio show over the last few years, I would have prepared, or I would have watched the way I watch now. And I bet you that's what Sonny always felt, is that it wasn't work. It was something that he enjoyed doing. Now, Sonny was, you mentioned at the park, Sonny's office was a desk, when I was playing there, was a desk in the front lobby. They put a tag next to it that said Sonny Jurgensen. And, he'd just sit in the couch and hang out and talk to people and watch, and everyone trusted him and everyone loved to be around him.
Yeah. No, it was a great era, and I'm glad you got to close it out with him because again, it's like you're like Carl Lewis taking the baton towards the next level, and I appreciate you coming on.
No one will be Sonny, and no one will be. Sam was incredible with him and Frank, and
yep.
Larry and I are just trying to do a great job. But he's a special man.
No question.
Sonny Jurgensen.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it very much.
Anytime, Andy.
All right, talk to you soon. That's Chris Cooley, and we'll transition from one broadcaster to another, and great in his own right, Steve Buckhands, the only man so far who has ever broadcast Washington Wizards on TV, and before that was a great sportscaster and anchor at Channel 5 here in Washington, and like me, grew up rooting for the Redskins. So I would say this, Buck, at our age, we're now all past 60, it feels like some of our childhood has died with Sonny deciding to not continue broadcasting. You feel the same way?
Well, I do, Andy, but it clearly elicits great memories because I remember, like you do, sitting in the stands as a kid watching the games, and that's the first time I was introduced to Sonny Jurgensen. It wasn't on the air on the radio; it was when he was throwing passes in the air, and when I think about him as a player, I think back to the Redskin days. They weren't great teams, but you know what? You relished watching him play because he was so incredible. His spirals were amazing. And when I think about him as a player, I think about passes to Charlie Taylor and Bobby Mitchell and Jerry Smith and handing the ball off to Larry Brown, and I just that's the memory I have of him as a player. But I think what the neat thing is with you and I and a lot of the folks that are in the business and still in the business is that we watched him as a player and we rooted for him and we were kids, like you said. Mm-hmm. And then because of what we do, we got to know him as a person and work with him.
Yep.
And to me, that's the most amazing thing is that, here we are, sometimes I would have, and I got to be friendly with him, and I've gone to Nats games with him, and, just for being in their business, really.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I would be sitting with him having a conversation, and I'd almost have to pinch myself, thinking, I'm having a conversation with Sonny Jurgensen.
Yeah.
And just, like man to man, guy to guy, sports guy to sports guy, and then watching him with Glenn and watching him with George was really something special.
Yeah, no question. I feel exactly the same way, and I've felt that in having conversations with him. My God, I'm talking to Sonny Jurgensen, and you've heard this saying over the years. You don't really want to meet your heroes. Well, in this case, you get to meet your hero, and he's everything you'd hoped he'd be.
Yeah, he's you hear this cliche sometimes, but he's a regular guy.
Yeah.
And a funny guy, and I had an experience last summer, a year before that, with some friends of mine, Tommy McVeigh, who the real old Redskin fans will remember. Tommy McVeigh Sr. was the equipment manager for the Redskins back in the day with Sonny and Billy and George Allen and all those great old Redskins. And Tommy Sr. is best friends with Sonny. And Tommy's down in Florida, but his son is a good friend of mine, Tommy McVeigh, and he's up here. And all of us went to a Nats game together with Billy. And, in fact, I have a picture of that, and I tweeted it out last year, and I'm going to do it again in a little while because it was just so much fun to see these two guys at the game together, and they put them up on the Jumbotron, and the place went absolutely insane. But going down in the car, Billy, who's a real, cut-up kind of guy, was just nudging and egging on Sonny, and the whole car ride was the most hysterical thing. And, you wish you had a camera sometimes that you could record some of this stuff and play it for people because they never get to see stuff like this.
Right.
But it was the funniest thing. And then the other Sonny story, very quickly, that was just so much fun for me. Back when we covered the Redskins in Carlisle, Sonny was up there with Glenn because they were doing TV together.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother would bring my nephew, Thomas, to Carlisle to see Redskin training camp. And I was up there covering it for Channel 5 with the rest, with everybody. And, we were privy to be down there on the tarmac and hang out and all that other stuff. So my nephew, who was about, 8 or 9 years old, and wound up playing quarterback at McLean High School, he had a Nerf football. And after practice, he and Sonny were having a catch. Now, my nephew had no clue who Sonny Jurgensen was, and the two of them were throwing the football back and forth. And, of course, my nephew had a really nice little spiral, even at 8 or 9 years old. And, of course, Sonny was Sonny. So they're throwing the ball back and forth, and my nephew says to Sonny, "Hey, you have a pretty good spiral." Sonny says to him, "Thanks, I've got a little experience." Yeah. It was classic, man.
Oh, God, that's great. We're talking to Steve Buckhantz, who has, as I do, great memories of Sonny and work with him. And we talked a lot about these Super Bowl trips over the years that the Redskins were in. They were in 4 of them over a 9-year period. And that week, you were there with Channel 5 for those. And, what was it like with that, with the whole band there and George and Glenn in their prime and the whole Sonny and Sam combination with Frank? I mean, what was it like to be a part of that circus?
Well, again, for me, and at the time I was working in TV here on the air, but I was still somewhat, not believing that I was hanging out with these guys.
Yeah.
And I've got a great picture that I've sent out before of a Redskin playbook show that we did in 1988 in San Diego at the Hyatt Islandia, and I managed to get all those other guys on the air with me. So I had George and Glenn and Frank on our show together, and it was fantastic. And then at that same Super Bowl, every TV station would do their broadcast from a certain location by the hotel. Mm-hmm. And it was great fun. And Channel 9, I remember, had theirs set up, and they were up on a riser. And, before the show even came on, all the guys were friendly, and we would BS and talk and things of that nature. And I had a buddy of mine from that I worked with at James Madison in radio, a guy named Dave Condit, who lives out in San Diego. And I had him tagging along with me, and we walked over to where Glenn and Sonny were. And I have this picture, too. I need to send this stuff out. And they were sitting up on the riser, just, Glenn kibitzing and hanging out with Sonny, and the 4 of us were kind of just standing there talking. I brought my buddy over, and I said, "Hey, Glenn, would you mind if Dave took a picture? My buddy Dave took a picture with you guys." And, of course, Glenn was like, "Yeah, come on," So my friend Dave goes up on the set, and he sits down next to Glenn and Sonny, and we take this awesome picture. And, of course, my buddy, who's from D.C., is like, soiling himself. I can't believe he's sitting up on there with Glenn Brenner and Sonny Jurgensen like their old pal. And Sonny just went along with everything. And, of course, he was such a great combination with Glenn first and then obviously George. But, you had to really get to know him to know his sense of humor, which was very funny. And to be hanging out in those days at those Super Bowls with those guys was a memory that I know you have and that I will always have. And just look, their broadcast when all those guys were at full strength.
Yep.
Sonny, Sam, and Frank was great. Look, they were homers, but that's what you want to hear when you're with the home team.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, Andy, but they were. There's a difference between being a homer and being a credible homer, and clearly Sonny and Sam, had credibility. And when you have that credibility, you can say things that could be construed as homerish, because that's what the fans want to hear. It's coming from someone who played the game. And, of course, Frank was the ultimate broadcaster, great play-by-play guy. So,
right.
And still his call of Riggins and the touchdown is, I think, the greatest call in Washington sports history. So, Sonny and Sonny could do the job for as long as he wanted to, and I'm glad that he went out on his own, when
Yep.
he felt like he was going to go out, and like I said, that was his job forever, and deservedly so.
No question. I know you are just hit a little bump, like some of us have. You're going to be back, and we're looking forward to hearing from you soon. And I know that 8:30 a.m. is not an hour you're familiar with, so I appreciate you getting up for me to do this today.
Oh, I've already been up and swam and run around the block, Andy, and doing all those kinds of things.
Oh, good for you. You get
not. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Good to talk to you, Buck. Take care.
Bye, buddy.
All right, that's Steve Buckhantz, who again he will be back on television and or radio, and both. I don't know, but he is one of the great play-by-play men we've ever had in this town, and certainly on par with Frank, who was kind enough to join us. As is Larry Michael, the current voice of the Washington Redskins, and he's going to join us to help wrap up the show. We've had a wonderful morning here talking about Sonny Jurgensen. I've gotten a number of great tweets from people out there. There have been pictures that have been sent out. This is one of those good times when you say goodbye to somebody. It's a great opportunity that we have that really gets to what we felt during that era. Here's one from Dominic. The past, they were the best. I'm so thankful they were such a part of my fandom for so long. Thanks for the memories, meaning Sonny, Sam, and Frank. He also said, listening to Frank Herzog with Andy Pollin now almost left me in tears. Sonny, Sam, and Frank were Redskins football for so long. So many memories. I would have loved to have heard him say, touchdown Washington Redskins again, but I respect his reasons for not doing that. And as you heard Frank here, he's left that behind with his broadcasting career and has to do it in the moment, which is totally understood. So thank you all for being with us this morning as we continue. We're going to wrap things up with Larry Michael and talk about the last years of Sonny doing radio for the Redskins. Carol Maloney's show is coming up at 10 o'clock. In between, a little bite of Golic and Wingo between 9 and 10. Andy Pollin paying tribute to Sonny Jurgensen here on ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.
Stephen A. Smith.
So if you're saying Presti, no disrespect because he is an astute general manager, you had Russell Westbrook, you had Kevin Durant, you had Paul George, you had Victor Oladipo. You don't have one single championship to show for that. Show me one executive that has had that level of talent that has not won a championship. It has never happened. So to me, why should I believe it's going to happen now?
Weekdays 1 to 3, it's Stephen A. Smith, Washington's new ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.
You're thinking of remodeling your kitchen or bathrooms, but you aren't sure who to call or where to start. Make it easy for yourself. Call 800-NEW-REMODEL. Remodel USA has worked with thousands of area homeowners to remodel their homes. They're a family-owned and operated business with a transparent process. From design to installation, they do it all. You'll love what Remodel USA can do. You'll finally have the kitchen or bathroom you've always wanted. Your home's value will increase, and you'll be amazed at how efficient the process was. Start with a consultation and estimate. Call 800-NEW-REMODEL, and an experienced pro will come to your home to discuss the possibilities. In fact, call now to get 60% off the installation of your new kitchen or bathroom, plus $2,500 off just for being an ESPN 630 listener. Just mention ESPN 630 and you'll save $2,500 on top of the 60% installation discount. Call now, 800-NEW-REMODEL. That's 800-NEW-REMODEL or 800newremodel.com for Remodel USA.
Tacos, travel, haircuts, hotels. With the PenFed Power Cash Rewards Visa Signature Card, you earn cash back on everything, everywhere, from gas to groceries and concerts to cruises. So don't just earn cash back on some things, earn it on everything. Everyone is eligible to apply. Visit PenFed.org. To receive any advertised product, you must become a member of PenFed, insured by NCUA.
PenFed's got great rates for everyone.
When is a pencil more than a pencil? When it takes me from art class
to gallery walls worldwide. Staples is your back-to-school destination. Find all the supplies and inspiration you need. Come in-store this week for great deals under $1. Now, Staples one-subject notebooks are just 25 cents each, and 2 pocket paper folders are only 15 cents each. Staples, back to school and beyond. In-store only. Offer ends 8/10/19. Limit 5 on paper folders, limit 30 on notebooks, while supplies last.
Sonny hurls a honey to Bobby Mitchell, and it's touchdown, Washington.
This is ESPN 630 special coverage, Saluting Sonny.
I was desperate to have someone like Lombardi come in. he was the only coach that I played for that simplified the game of football.
Sonny Jurgensen on the 1969 season, best year of his career, 62% completion percentage, 3,100 yards passing, led the league in both, plus 22 touchdowns, a great playing career and a great broadcasting career, which wrapped up last night with his announcement that he is retiring after 38 years in the booth. The last 15 alongside Larry Michael, the voice of the Redskins, who joined us now. Larry, thoughts that came to your mind when you heard that Sonny was going to hang it up?
Well, Andy, it's kind of a bittersweet type of situation. Sonny is going to be turning 85 in a couple of weeks, and he hadn't done the road games for the last couple of years. So, sooner or later he was going to hang it up. And there's been a couple of years along the way where he has maybe contemplated not coming back. But I think he felt very comfortable that this was the right time for him to retire. And we're going to miss him, man. I mean, it's to me. He's the most popular athlete to ever come out of Washington, D.C., to ever play in Washington, D.C. I mean, it's been racking my brain. Obviously, that is up for debate.
Yeah.
But I think, he's one of a kind. And really, when you think about it, a lot of people who listen to Sonny, Sam, and Frank, and who continue to listen to Sonny, never saw him play. All they ever thought of him as a broadcaster.
Mm-hmm.
And he had such a great wit. Still does have a great wit. He's still doing well. He is still healthy, which is the good news. And,
right.
And he's going to be around for a long time. So, kind of bittersweet. We're going to miss him a lot, man.
No question. We'll miss him on the air, but hopefully he'll have some presence around D.C. You're like me. You grew up in this town, Montgomery County guy, and I'm just talking to Steve Buckhantz about this. He's from Virginia, but from the area, and we both felt, hey, as we've done our professional lives and have had a chance to interact and work with Sonny, hey, this is cool. I'm talking to Sonny Jurgensen here. Do you still feel that as a partner with him in the booth?
Yeah, I mean, when I got the job, I said to myself, I'm not going to miss a single meal with Sam and Sonny, and Sam as well. And we had every road game breakfast, dinners, lunches, and before the games, Sonny was notorious for getting to the ballpark early. And, you usually get there about 3 hours ahead of time. He'd get there 5 hours ahead of time.
Wow.
And for years, Sonny's going, I'm going. I'm going with Sonny. So we'd go, and he'd sit there, and we'd just sit there and talk for about 3 hours before anybody even showed up. So, I've really been blessed because, I grew up, Larry Brown was one of my childhood heroes.
Right.
He actually knows who the heck I am. So, same thing goes with Sonny and all these guys. Billy, to get to know these guys over the years. But Sonny was very special. Sonny had really taken me under his wing when I got the job. And obviously, Frank was a legend. And when I got the job, Sonny basically told me, look, I'm going to take you under my wing. I mean, anything you need, you let me know. I'm here for you. And I can never repay him for what he did for me as the voice of the Redskins, and for his friendship. I mean, just to hang out. You can't even count the number of laughs we had. Can't imagine how many Frank and Sam had over the years because they were together for longer than I was with Sonny. But you're right. You got to pinch yourself sometimes. I still say it about Doug Williams. He's in the office. Hey, there's Doug Williams. Yeah. It's unbelievable. Doug Williams is here.
Sure.
So that's just the way we are because we grew up around here.
Yeah, no question. But Sonny, as you said, probably the most beloved athlete in the area. And, I made a comparison earlier to Alex Ovechkin winning the Stanley Cup. Maybe that's for younger people. But, I think with Sonny, who never started a winning playoff game, never played in a winning playoff game here, is so beloved, I think partially because of his broadcasting work, but partially because, as early in the show was pointed out by Ernie Bauer, he's the one that really brought Redskins mania to this town. He gave them an exciting brand of football, even though they didn't win a lot of games.
When Sonny was the quarterback for the Redskins, there was a season where they had the number 1, number 2, and number 4 rated wide receiver. That's never going to happen again, Andy. I don't care. He had Bobby Mitchell, Jerry Smith, and
Charlie Taylor. Charlie Taylor led the league, and Mitchell was 4, and Jerry Smith was 2. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? And back, offense sells tickets, defense wins championships. That's what Sam always used to say.
Mm-hmm.
And Sonny sold a lot of tickets. Sonny, because of the way he played, he was a swashbuckler, and of course, he also found himself in the newspapers on the front page occasionally.
Yeah, I did. Yep.
Okay, which I think kind of caused people to think, this guy's like me in a lot of ways. He likes to have fun, and he has such a good wit. Probably the only guy from Duke I ever really liked.
Yeah. It's been so long. He graduated in 1957, so that
great basketball player.
Yeah,
great basketball player, and there's so many stories about him. I know there was a basketball game when South Carolina and Maryland played in that famous game.
Yep.
Where Jim O'Brien hit that basket to win the game. Sonny actually recited the Chaucer's Canterbury Tales during the stall ball that was going on.
Yeah, that's right. They held the ball before the shot clock, and you could hold the ball.
And he's doing the Canterbury Tales, which is old English. We memorized. We used to have to memorize that stuff in high school.
Yeah.
But very intelligent guy too, super well read, and just a very well-rounded guy. But loved to have fun, and still does. I mean, so what are we going to miss? We'd have so many laughs, and he would just. We'd rib each other, and I can't begin to tell you how much fun it was to be with him, and Sam too. Sam's another great guy.
Yep.
This is really the end of an era for those of us who grew up listening to Sonny, Sam, and Frank, and just growing up Redskins fans in that era. Before Joe Gibbs came, obviously George Allen got them in the win column. But if you're old enough to remember what they were like before that, they didn't win a lot of ball games till Lombardi came.
Mm-hmm.
Hadn't won for a long time before Lombardi, and Lombardi obviously passed after a year. So, great soundbite you used there, because Sonny never failed to mention that Lombardi simplified the game for him, which made it fun.
Yep.
The coaches try to complicate things, and that But I talked to Sonny I've been talking to Sonny over the last few months. To make sure that he's okay with everything, okay with his decision. I think he's very, very comfortable with his decision, and I like the way he wanted us to do that on the radio broadcast, which I think was the appropriate thing for him. That's really what he wanted, and because he spent so much time in the radio booth. I mean, you imagine how many hours he has spent in football stadiums?
Oh,
I mean,
well, you're saying he's coming 5 hours before game time, added up 18 years of playing and 31 years or more, including CBS of broadcasting. That's a lot of hours in the booth.
Yeah, always the first guy off the bus too. He would jump off the bus before it even stopped, and we all sit in the front. So he'd be standing there past that white line that you're not supposed to stand past, and he'd be waiting. He's always the first guy off, and and you know what? We're going to miss him so much. Just to have him around and just to tell the stories. I mean, some of the stories, you'd heard a few times, especially with Sam and his hatred for Allie Sherman. but it was, it's been a heck of a ride for him. I mean, I can't imagine anybody's ever going to equal that record of how long he was with the organization, how long he's been an icon, a public icon in Washington, D.C. I mean, I've been thinking about it. There's just nobody else who's ever going to come close.
55 years. No, I don't think anybody's going to match that. The broadcast crew stays the same. There's not going to be any additions, right? You guys are going to, the three of you?
No, I think that's going to be determined. I guess if but here's my point: is that three-man booth was really special.
Yep.
Especially with those three guys. So when that changed, and now that you have both of the original color commentators, Sam and Sonny, who have retired, I think Cooley does a great job, and Doc does a great job.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you necessarily need another person. I know you can't fill his seat.
Right.
There's nobody who can fill Sonny Jurgensen's seat.
No question about it. I know that he had the farewell that he wanted. What the fans want is a chance to say goodbye. Will there be that, do you think, this season at FedEx Field, or will he just stay parked in Florida?
I sure hope so. He kind of, I really don't know. I agree with you. I think a proper send-off with him being present would be appropriate. I mean, I'm sure the team is going to do some things to honor Sonny, but I don't know. I don't know if he's booked a flight to come up here anytime soon. I mean, I think he's very comfortable. But I'm with you. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, especially during maybe an NFC East game, because he would get fired up. I mean, Philly. I don't have the schedule in front of me. I think that's toward the end of the season. That might be.
Yeah, the home game.
I don't think we.
Yeah.
That's probably near the end of the season. But and maybe alumni game might be a good game because he loved doing the alumni game because Billy would be there.
Yeah.
And he and Billy and their wives would pal around, and that he is his best buddy, Billy. I mean, to see those two guys together.
Yeah, probably.
And to see them needle Joe T too. That's always fun.
Yeah. That's always fun. It doesn't matter which one of us plays as long as he doesn't, which is carried over for 40 years.
True story.
Yeah.
Story. Oh, yeah. Joe really loves Sonny too. It's just how can you not love Sonny Jurgensen?
Yeah. Yeah, no, he called him Red. He's the only one I've ever heard call him Red, but that's okay. That's Joe. Hey, Larry, thanks for the memories. Continued good work, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Andy. You guys sounding great on the radio station. It's really great to have you guys up and running, and looking forward to listening for many, many years.
Very good. Thanks, Larry. Larry Michael, voice of the Redskins, who worked the last 15 years in the booth with Sonny Jurgensen. Just a couple of final thoughts from me. And yes, I have tweeted out a picture of this, so it's actually happening. I look down upon people my age who wear jerseys, but this is a special occasion, and I am wearing my Sonny Jurgensen throwback jersey, as this is, again, at my age, kind of the end of a piece of my childhood. As someone who has been a part of Redskins football for 55 years has decided that he's going out on his own terms and going out the way he wants to, and my God, does he deserve it, because just as a player and as a broadcaster, there was nobody like him, and I don't think we'll ever see anybody like him again. And the games will go on, obviously, and the broadcasts will go on, and they're very good, and they're heard here on ESPN 630 with Larry Michael and Chris Cooley and Doc Walker. But the presence of number 9, and as we sit here on the 9th of August in my number 9 jersey, those thoughts go through my head of what it's like not to have Sonny Jurgensen as a part of this organization for the first time since 1963. Believe that. 1963 was the last season that the Redskins went through without Sonny Jurgensen as part of the organization. It's just a remarkable run and a remarkable person who we pay tribute to today. I want to thank all of our guests who were on last 3 hours. Ernie Bauer, longtime producer and director, worked many years with Sonny in television. The one and only Tony Kornheiser. Andy Ockershausen, the genius behind putting Sonny, Sam, and Frank together. Len Shapiro, who covered Sonny as a reporter, both as a player and as a broadcaster. Frank Herzog, the Frank of Sonny, Sam, and Frank, the great play-by-play voice. Chris Cooley, former Redskin, current radio analyst, does a great job as Sonny did for 38 years. Steve Buckhantz, a great broadcaster and a native Washingtonian who joined us as well. And Larry Michael, voice of the Redskins. Thanks to Jeff Wolf, our engineer. Thanks to all of you who've listened. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. Carol Maloney's show is coming up at 10. Golick and Wingo is coming up next, right here on ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.
Now, from ESPN 630, your DC Sports Center.
All right, this is not exactly the kind of debut the Redskins were hoping for from rookie quarterback Dwayne Haskins. One of 2 interceptions last night went for a touchdown, a pick 6, as the Redskins lost the preseason opener to the Cleveland Browns 30-10, although 2 of the Browns' touchdowns came late on a pass from a 4th-string quarterback and an 86-yard punt return. Colt McCoy did not play, along with a number of others who were listed as starters on the depth chart. Next game, Thursday against Cincinnati. Sonny Jurgensen has retired after 38 years in the radio booth. You've heard tributes throughout the morning. Those will be available at ESPN630.com later on. Nats open up a weekend series tonight in New York. Mets on a tear. They won 13 of their last 14. Orioles are home against the Astros. And the Mystics were 91-78 winners over Indiana, home against Minnesota Sunday. DC weather, sunny today with a high of 89. Andy Pollin, ESPN 630.
The Bram Weinstein Show.
This is not a Le'Veon Bell situation. The reality is you may cut Trent Williams after this year anyway. It's time to move him.
Bram Weinstein, weekday afternoons at 3 on Washington's new home for sports, ESPN 630.
At the Big Screen Store, it's game on. Just in time for football. 2 75-inch Samsung 4K TVs, just $19.99. Whoa, that's 2 for $19.99. The Big Screen Store. At the Big Screen Store, our prices beat Best Buy and online, guaranteed. Plus, we double the Samsung warranty, and you get delivery and installation installed by pros on your schedule. Not even Amazon can do that. The Big Screen Store. The Big Screen Store is your motion furniture headquarters with innovative furniture featuring power headrests, full power recline, USB ports, lighting and accessories, power lumbar support, plus an incredible selection. The Big Screen Store. At the Big Screen Store, it's game on. Just in time for football. Two 75-inch Samsung 4K TVs, just $19.99. Whoa, that's two for $19.99. The Big Screen Store.
WSPN Washington. ESPN 630. The Sports Capital. Washington's new home for sports. For sports.
This is Golick and Wingo. For Friday, August 9th.
You know what last night was? It reminds us what a communal experience a full slate of games are, right?
Last night was 1 p.m. 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 Last night was